Yeah. So like I said, I did spend a pretty sad amount of time reading about Matthew Livelsberger this weekend. He's the young man, the Green Beret, the active Army serviceman who blew up a Cybertruck in front of Trump Tower in Las Vegas. Or did he?
Okay, tell me about it. I don't know anything about it.
Well, you get your normal conspiracy stuff of like slowing down the video and because people say that he shot himself too.
Huh.
And people are breaking it down like, no way. There's no way that he got that shot off. Like, he's still alive in this portion. That stuff doesn't interest me as much as there is a guy named Sean Ryan who did not create the shield.
That part doesn't interest you?
It interests me in the sense that I believe I have been seeing quotes, comments, or content from the podcaster and veteran Sean Ryan for years and being like, that's kind of a weird swerve for the FX guy, but whatever. It's two guys. It's been two guys.
So you thought it was the Shield guy all these times.
Kind of made sense,
Okay.
right? He's like interviews with special forces guys. I don't know. Sean Ryan did some military show stuff, if I recall, and the Shield's all law enforcement-y, and don't know. But apparently Sean Ryan, the podcaster, is a big deal, at least in the veteran community. He's got 3.5 million subbies on YouTube.
That's where we went wrong.
We weren't in the military?
We should have been a veteran podcast.
Man. Can we
Long
do that?
play.
Pivot?
Maybe.
Are you a veteran? Okay, he just.
threw his headset on. Hold on,
Following
Stu.
this story quite a bit.
I would
There we
like
go.
your input.
Yeah.
So he's a former Navy SEAL, the podcaster, Sean Ryan. He's a former CIA contractor, special ops, does not consulting, but like he's a contributor with some of the cable news channels. So he does this podcast, and he'll have analysts, ex-analysts from the CIA or from DOJ on, and they'll talk about like future threats. Like, hey, what are we looking at? What are people talking about? They both have they have a lot of relationships with people who are still in the field, both still undercover and not. So we'll have people like that on his show. And last week he had a guy on his show, Sam Shoemate, I believe is his name. He's another guy who lives in this intelligence world. Like, he's ex-CIA, he's ex-Marine, and he's got basically, this is the same way The Rock knew Bin Laden was about to get iced. Remember that? These guys all talked to each other, and he knew because he had trained with the SEALs or whatever.
And this is just basically like the Department of Defense's which penny stock will hit $100.
Yeah.
It's all like, this could happen.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for this. And so he's one of these guys.
Yeah. And so in this case,
Was this because of 9/11? We should have seen this was did this industry
that probably did. Yeah.
balloon like
Yeah.
all these obvious? That's really obvious. We should have realized that.
No
would
more
be
black
easy.
swans?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sean Ryan does this podcast on Friday with this Sam Shoemate guy. And again, if I'm getting the name wrong, whatever.
So conspiracy stuff is popular.
Oh, huge.
We've talked earlier. Rogan, this guy.
Alex Jones.
That's what we need to do.
A conspiracy veteran podcast
Yeah.
that shows Shaft.
You get
That
Soroy.
shows Wiener Shaft.
Soroy's a veteran. He could that could be his
Soroy is a
ring.
veteran.
Contributor right there.
Yeah. I've been arrested. It's basically a
Great.
prisoner of war.
I've shown
go.
Shaft.
We're on to something. You've got the misogyny thing pretty well covered with that whole Christina Pink thing. Like, well, she just show her whole tit.
It's not misogyny.
So this guy does this podcast where he has an associate in the intelligence world on, right? And that guy comes on and says, basically like, holy hell, I'm pretty sure that the Green Beret that they're saying did this while he was on leave, I think he'd been contacting me. He'd been contacting me on my Instagram page, and then on, is it Telegram? Is that what they're Signal?
Signal, yeah.
The supposedly encrypted app that you can use for communication that the government can't get to. And
Supposedly.
Okay. What do you think?
No, you said it like.
Well, they can't verify it, but this
Okay.
guy's posting these emails and saying like, hey, these are what this guy sent me. Here's what he's talking about. Here's how he said he proved it was him. Like, hey, just so you know, the first car I ever bought was an '06 Mustang. Because, like, sometimes that'll be a question on, like, a security thing. That's a weird thing to know, to have researched and figured out if you're trying to purport to be this person. So somebody was talking to this Sam Shoemate guy, either the guy who blew up the truck or a guy pretending to be the guy who blew up the truck. One of the two things is true. And if it's the latter and it's all some weird red herring done by civilian government, not sure for whatever reason, it's very, very elaborate. Like, the guy has extremely specific details. He goes into, in these emails, an incident that he was involved in Afghanistan in 2019, where he was basically, on command for airstrikes, and they just slaughtered a village, hundreds of civilians, or at least looks like 100 civilians. And it was covered up, and he's like, I was a part of covering that up. Here's the DEA agent I worked with. The DEA's involved because it was near a poppy field. It was a poppy field operation. Here's the CIA operative I worked with. Their names are redacted in this report that was released. But if you go cross-check that with actual reporting on that incident, it did happen and it was covered up. There was an attack in 2019 where they killed dozens and dozens of civilians and they tried to cover it up. He also claims to have knowledge of what was happening with those goddamn drones in New Jersey. This is where it gets real interesting.
Yes.
He's like, hey, that is he uses the term like gravitic propulsion or something that I'd never heard before, but that's no surprise. Basically saying like these anti-gravity drones, China has them, they're using them, we have them, and we're trying to test the capability. Like, this is a new level of human warfare that they're testing out. And they cannot let anybody know about it. And he's saying, I was aware of that. I was involved in that. I know about it. And I want you, Sam Shoemate, this guy, he's like, I want to get you this info. I think they had a mutual friend. I need you to get this to Sean Ryan. Because apparently Sean Ryan's 3.5 million subscribers. It's a big deal for veterans. And if you can, to Fox News and Peter Hegseth, who is the incoming, Secretary of Defense.
At least the nominee for it.
Yeah, good point. I suppose it could happen. But, he's like, you got to get this info to them. This is a big, big deal. And he just has like these rants about like these drones and what the government is doing and all the injustices committed by the government. So take that, right? Like, that's on one thing. On the other, you have official releases from the government investigating the act of terror, saying that they found like 2 small manifestos. I don't know if they couldn't have been printed. He blew up his car, but they were on his phone somehow. Those are way different. Those don't mention anything about the 2019 thing in Afghanistan. They don't mention anything about the drones. Instead, the manifestos are like oddly pro-Trump, and by oddly I mean it says military time to wake up. We're being led by weak leadership. Military and vets move on DC starting now. Militias facilitate and augment this activity. Occupy every major road along federal buildings, campus of federal buildings by the hundreds of thousands. Lock the highways down around with semis right after everybody gets in. Hold until the purge is complete. Different tone. Try peaceful means first, but be prepared to fight the Dems out of the Fed government and by military means if necessary. He continues later. We're a separate one. We are the USA, the best country people to ever exist. Kind of an Alamo art thing there. Right now we're heading towards collapse. Then he's got some generic 1% stuff. The top 1% decided long ago they weren't going to bring everyone else with them. You are cattle to them.
Can you be the best country people to ever exist if you are also heading for collapse? Like right on the edge?
It's an interesting dichotomy that it feels like both politicians on both sides tend to, although, frankly, Trump a lot. But now he's getting weird now. Again, The thing that he claims that is purported to have been sent to these intelligence community members and talking heads is all about, like, the government is covering shit up. We can't know about it. It's very bad. I'm doing this to draw attention to the fact that this is happening. The manifesto continues, a lot of us are just sitting around waiting to die. No sunlight, no steps, no fresh air, no hope. Our children are addicted to screens by the age of 2. We are filling our bodies with processed foods. This
guy's speaking to me.
But it's somewhat normal manifesto stuff.
Okay.
But it's way different than the other stuff. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and he has 2 manifestos.
Our population
Maybe he's just trying to see what sticks.
I mean, when I made my notes, I was saying, like, it feels like this guy's doing, pardon the interruption.
Now I'm onto this.
He's like, drones, ding. And they're like, processed foods, seed oils, ding.
Yeah.
He said, our population is too fat to join the military, yet we are facing a war with China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran before 2030.
Oh, really? Damn.
This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives?
So that's what he's doing.
That's what he said.
He's trying to... Has he looked at, like, the news? Like, this stuff goes away in a couple seconds.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Media literacy on this one, or at least reading the ecosystem a little. It's like, America's like, that's super wild. The playoffs start, huh?
Yeah, geez. Great.
Baker got in? Ride with Baker. He considers,
Detroit needs the rest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Conclude, and dude, you're going to look up, it's going to be Thursday, college football.
Gosh.
He says, consider this last sunset of 24 and my actions the end of our sickness and a new chapter of health for our people. Rally around Trump, Musk, Kennedy, and ride this wave to the highest hegemony for all Americans. We are second to no one. So, I don't know. People are trying to say that those emails that he sent to that guy, Sam Shoemate, are fake. Sam Shoemate has put it as all out there as I can see for proof as, like, I'm telling you, this is what the guy sent me. I've given it to the FBI. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think Sam is also saying that the guy's still alive.
There is some. I have seen that. I haven't drilled down on it as much, but there's some idea that, like, yeah.
That he thinks that the reason he got a Cybertruck is because, which doesn't make any sense really, but that he could remote control it, drive it there, explode it, but I don't know how that explains whose body is in there.
Yeah,
the video that
fake
came
body.
out yesterday of, like, the body supposedly moving around.
That's the
before
video I was talking
explosion.
about. Yeah. Yeah. I also saw this one I didn't follow up on at all, but the guy, you know, there's another Las Vegas. It's like in New Mexico.
It's called Las Vegas?
Yeah, because I've seen it on the way back.
How do I not know
Yeah,
that?
right when you go to Colorado.
I've seen it from on the way back from Colorado, and like we've seen it on the sign before, and it was like, 500 miles. And we're
Do
all
they have
like,
gambling and stuff?
I don't even have any idea. But we've definitely looked at each other like, that doesn't seem that we should go.
Yeah.
And it's actually like a 19-hour drive or something. I don't
It's
know.
a real Las Vegas.
Yeah, but so I saw something that he plugged in the coordinates wrong and ended up there first.
At fake Las Vegas.
And because he did
It's like when Rob went to Hearst to go to my house, even though he's been there a million times.
Las Vegas, New Mexico.
For some reason, my house on Apple Maps is sending people to Hearst.
Because he didn't think the route ahead and he went to the wrong Las Vegas, he had to charge his Cybertruck like 8 times.
That part was hilarious.
Like
to
out in
me.
the
His
middle
map.
of nowhere. His map is hilarious.
It's a straight shot to New Las Vegas,
And then just
and then had to go over.
I mean, you're in the middle of nowhere trying to charge this thing. Yeah, he's a Green Beret.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another part of it too, Dan, is that they interviewed his family and they're like, yeah, if he wanted to blow that whole building up, he definitely could have.
Mm-hmm.
Like this rigged up explosive that you see in this truck, like this guy was blowing up buildings by hand on deployments.
Okay, so that does lend to the I just wanted to create a spectacle.
Yeah. And they say like he was suffering from depression.
Though, and I believe the right is better at amplifying things,
Better at everything.
right, than the soft left. But had that been like an immigrant who is anti-Trump, we would probably have laws passed already.
Well,
on never allowing anyone with pigment into the country.
well, it's interesting because part of it is that no one died in Las Vegas other than potentially the terrorist, if in fact that happened. And in New Orleans, people did die. But I wonder what it would have been like if those numbers were even, because you're not hearing anything. I haven't even really seen this manifesto. I saw it on like Talking Points Memo, like a political blog. I'm not seeing this manifesto in the New York Times or on NBC News where he's talking about, hey, we need to take over the government, root out the Dems in a purge. However, I am hearing quite a bit about how this Muslim guy became radicalized in Houston. A lot about that.
But he's not like pro-Democrat or pro-Republican. He's just anti all of it, right?
Who?
The Muslim guy.
Well, what I'm saying is that the media looks at the Muslim thing and they're like, this guy hates America. We know that play.
Yeah, okay.
Let's talk about that. How did it happen?
Okay, I see.
You know? And they say that, he became radicalized, moved to a neighborhood, just in like the last 18 months, moved to a neighborhood in Houston that was predominantly Muslim, and even the people in that neighborhood kind of thought, like, something's weird with this guy. There was a funny note in the New York Times, because they actually did cover his motives, where the guy, to my knowledge, didn't leave a manifesto, but he had started a SoundCloud page.
All right.
And rather than just like rapping over old Chance the Rapper beats, he was just posting himself talking on SoundCloud. And in one of the clips, the New York Times notes that one of his like diatribes against society, he's talking about music, and he was really mad about about partying. So the New Orleans thing was that. Like, he was really mad about, like, the culture of America, drinking and sex. And he specifically mentions, this happened in 2023, that he blames 50 Cent's album Get Rich and Die Tryin' for a string of murders that had happened in his neighborhood, which is entirely possible, but that album came out in fucking 2003. Like, update your software, buddy. There's been a million other albums you could have gone with. Get Rich or Die Trying is still in your crosshairs? It's weird. He's just like, I think the kids are killing themselves over classic albums. But anyways,
That Vivek guy is also upset about the culture, I saw.
that's a whole other deal.
I know, it's a funny bit.
It's a great bit. We talked about that a little bit, didn't we?
I don't remember doing it here.
Oh, maybe
I
not.
don't think so.
Well, it was funny because obviously it's
I
over.
heard Ethan Strauss talking about it.
Yeah, it's over the H-1B visas, and shocker, the people who run the tech companies who threw all their weight behind Trump and the Republican Party because it could help them advance their agendas with deregulation and embracing things like crypto. It turns out they actually don't care, really, about America as far as American citizens. They care about making money. Whereas a lot of the people who voted for Trump, at least the ones that were really, really, really fired up about it, they care about America, but particularly the Americans who look like them.
Yeah, but then...
And they were promised that.
Then this whole thing, though, is... Because if you complain about immigrants, they're taking our jobs. Like, this is literally... Like, they're taking the jobs of suburban, white, college-educated people.
For the most part, yeah. Then I think, yeah.
That's the visa thing, the tech visa thing. That's what they are taking, and that's why it's now in complete contrast with. It just doesn't fit the other. I don't want any immigrants here.
Yeah.
I thought we didn't want any immigrants here. That's cool, right? We're all on board with that. Oh no, wait. Like, we want these immigrants, but that's actually hurting.
Yeah. Well,
the other immigrants, a big argument is it's a lot of jobs people don't want to do or something.
Well, the tech
it's
gazillionaires, they never cared about immigrants or not. They just knew that was something they could say to get people on board.
No, I just think
Whereas
it's a fun.
People who are super MAGA,
Either
they do
side,
care.
And
they
I like infighting on either side, really.
That's just of course. I'm just very used to it over here.
Yeah.
Right. I'm typically like, okay, so let's see. This person is old, but can speak. In Bernie, this person is old, but I think is actually dead.
Yeah.
Dude, I ended up flipping on the TV the New Year's Day, I think, that night and seeing Biden up there. Holy hell. Unbelievable.
How could they ever have thought he can run for
dude.
president? Like,
Dude,
let alone
no way
keep doing it
he
for
would have
4
lived
years.
for 4 more years in office. No way.
But just like what it takes to run for president is incredible. Like
Yeah.
I marvel at Jerry's energy. I marvel at Trump's energy. Because I couldn't do it. Like tonight, I got to get to bed. We're doing like a 3-hour show here today.
But I was gonna say that.
Like, let alone
no, I feel you.
Run for president. Do speeches every day for months. Be quick on your feet. Like, that's not something he's not. Like, who around him was like, this is a good idea?
I don't know, man.
It's amazing.
Yeah, like they tried to prop him up and pump him full of whatever he needs, but the other day they clearly had to surprise him, and he was like, "Oh, where do I go?" But no, the Vivek thing that was funny. He took that as like he's going to take a shot at American culture. Hey, why don't you get your kid out of flag football and into math club? And,
Which really, that's probably a great message.
Sure, but there is something to
it ain't
like
going to play.
American people also really value hanging out and community and getting to know one another and spending time together and not just being about like goal. As much as we get shit for being like the crazy capitalist country, we're not like some of those other countries in that every single thing is about what's the next thing, the goal. And so to illustrate that point, Vivek said something to the effect of, we need to idolize guys like Screech over Zach Morris. And to which somebody replied,
Rest in peace.
Yeah, somebody replied with the image of the scene when it happened, and they're like, yeah, well, Zach got a 1520 and Zeke got a 1315 or 1360 on his SAT, which Vivek would know if he weren't a fucking casual. Which I actually did, yeah, remember. That was a big storyline. And it's going to be cold here.
Yeah, what's the deal with that? It's cold now.
I don't know that I'm going to pre-do this right now. I'm not going to do it right now. But I'm going to pre-say that if there's anyone listening that has the ability to let me rent, say, a barn or a warehouse or some sort of space that is large enough for a bounce house on Saturday, I will pay you whatever it's worth.
What do we got Saturday?
Nora's birthday.
What about isn't there like a bounce house place?
There's like the trampoline park.
The jump zone or something?
She's just not a fan. We were going to do it at a park, but it's risky. You got a January birthday, you're rolling the dice. But once she got her head set on, like, I want to do the bounce house at this park that we go to in Grapevine. And, a week ago it was going to be 50-something. And now we're dangerously close to having to make other plans. Like, I think you could do a kid birthday party at 50 degrees. I think that's fine.
Yeah, but it's going to be 30.
Well,
High of 44.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that.
What if you just...
Well, right now, high of 49 on Saturday.
Instead, just give her first ever iPad in the morning and then just leave her. And then you never have to... You don't have to do anything all day.
No, I got enough iPad and phone guilt. It does make it feel a little bit better whenever you play it with them.
Yeah,
Like, she's
look,
got learning games, and I help her with the learning
Yeah,
game.
she can learn chess. Like, I did that BS with my kids. Yeah, they're going to learn chess. And you know how long they did that? Like, whatever, went till they were like 6, and then they're like, yeah.
Look, at the end of the day...
Then they discovered YouTube. It's like, whoa.
The sooner... This is what Vivek needs to realize. The sooner as a regular schmegular guy you realize you have mid-kids, the better. Because you're not throwing away a bunch of money on this or that. Like, oh, my kid's going to get a lacrosse scholarship. Probably not. You got a mid-kid. The distribution just works to where it's likely your kid is mid. Just be happy with your mid-kid.
Yeah. You don't want them to be too hot.
Yeah.
You want them to be mid everywhere.
Sure.
Because that's what everybody is.
You want the Dak Prescott of
The
kids.
Dak Prescott of
No,
kids.
I don't.
The Cooper
right.
Rush of kids.